Alright, thank you for joining us today here at the Midwest Spook-kast. So, joining me today is myself, of course. I'm welcome to be here. Ayo. Mariah.
Hey!
Also got Alex the Great.
Hello.
And of course, we always have Johnny with us here in spirit. I don't know if he's exploring Roanoke right now. Who knows? Probably just hanging out at home.
Probably.
Doing all this amazing editing that he does.
He is our editing god. Thank you, Johnny, for everything you do.
He makes us sound, intelligent because of his editing, and,
You don't hear ahs and ohms.
Yeah, there's a lot of background noise and random sounds that get said that you guys don't have to suffer through.
But today we have a great episode coming to you today. I'm actually really interested for this one because I love learning about this story. So Alex is here to tell us about Roanoke.
Yeah, so Lost Colony of Roanoke is what our episode is about today. And so to kind of give a explanation and a background on this, Roanoke was the first English colony. You want to pause real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so today's episode, as Kayla was saying, is about the Lost Colony of Roanoke, which was the first English colony to be established in the New World. Roanoke is an island just off the coast of North Carolina. Give a kind of geographical location for it. The reason for this colony to be established in the first place was actually Queen Elizabeth was having kind of a dispute with Spain. King Philip II, shocker, Spain and England weren't getting along. Who would have guessed?
Oh, no, just the first time in history.
Just the first time.
The only time as well.
Of course, yeah.
You're right,
They've been best friends ever since. So the reason for this colony was to be in response to the Spanish colony down in Florida. So there was, it was St. Augustine was the colony's name. So they were trying to match the progression into the New World that Spain had. It was mainly out of spite. So, like a lot of things when it comes to royalty is they're just really petty, it seems. But also, to be fair, the New World was full of potential to expand your empire and whatnot, so they wanted the power, and they didn't want to fall behind in that. So, with that out of the way, we'll start with a gentleman called Sir Walter Raleigh. So he was a benefactor of the expeditions initially. He had two successful expeditions, one in 1584 and one in 1585. So these two expeditions were to find a suitable place for a colony to be, and that is how they came across the island of Roanoke. They didn't just send the colonists out randomly and told them, go find somewhere to make a settlement. It was not just them doing that. They had logistics. They knew where they were going. And during this time, they also made contact with the native tribe, the Croatoans, which was about 50 miles south of where Roanoke was. I saw in one report, I didn't see it show up in other places, so I don't know the legitimacy of this, but supposedly they brought the chief and one or two other delegates from their tribe actually back to England to show them where the colonists were coming from. And they were very impressed with how powerful the nation looked, and so they very easily said, yeah, we'll be your allies, because they would have a powerful ally in the English.
I mean, reasonable. That's always the goal, is to have one powerful ally.
Exactly. And it helped them also because a lot of other tribes in the area were forming confederacies. They were forming their own alliances to make larger forces, and they weren't necessarily getting accepted into those, and they especially were alienated when they officially became allies with England. So they kind of saw this as a good opportunity for themselves. After that, we have a gentleman that, I knew barely anything about the Roanoke colony before doing research, but even I knew the name John White, because he's the one that's most synonymous with everything here. He was actually a veteran of the second expedition in 1585 with Sir Walter Raleigh. So they were sending back someone that knew where the island was and had met with the Croatoan people before. So he was elected to be the governor of the new colony.
It makes sense, if you've got history with the people there.
Right.
Exactly.
Send them back.
Exactly. And he knew how to get to the island. He knew where there was resources to gather for them. So traveling with him, along with 117 colonists, was his wife Thomasine and their daughter Eleanor Dare and her husband Annius Dare. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. And their daughter was actually pregnant at the time.
Oh.
I'm not sure if she was... it seems like she was pregnant before they went, so she actually was pregnant during the trip to Roanoke.
God, I feel her pain, because I can't imagine what morning sickness would be like on that.
That just sounds horrible. But because she was pregnant, she actually gave birth to the first English child in the New World, and they named their daughter Virginia Dare. I don't know if
Cute.
Virginia was what they eventually were going to name the colony of Virginia, or if that's just the name they picked. I don't know if there's
cool.
a connection. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. But also, she was born in North Carolina, not Virginia, so it's a little off.
Nah, who cares about
But
details?
It's still it's a cool little fact there. First English-born child. So in 1587, it was John White, his family, and 117 English colonists finally landed on Roanoke Island, North Carolina. And it was found in John White's diary that Sir Walter Raleigh had promised every family that was on this colonial expedition that they were successful and the settlement was able to be long-standing and we were to expand from it. They were all promised 500 acres of fresh land when everything was said and done. Mm-hmm. So everyone that was going on this expedition was very determined to succeed because they were going to have that head start over everyone else because they took the sacrifice of being the first ones here.
Dang, that's a pretty good chunk of land.
Yeah, like 500 acres in the 1500s. That's a lot of land.
Right.
And so they were very determined to be successful. Unfortunately, they had a shortage of supplies. There was only one place that I saw this, so I'll bring it up, but again, it's kind of that whole situation of there's only one source that brings this up. Supposedly, one of the ships with a lot of supplies on it actually ran aground, and a lot of the food and building supplies actually fell into the water and was spoiled in the salt water of the Atlantic and in the bay. So they actually, supposedly, that's why they were so low on supplies.
Well, that would make sense.
That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Those poor people.
So barely a month after arriving, John White was reluctant to leave the colony to go back for supplies because he didn't want to leave them. But everyone in the colony was saying, we need this supplies. We are not going to make it if we don't.
I can understand both sides of it, though. Like why he would not want to leave them with low on supply and then maybe not make it back, But
Exactly.
Well, Glenn, too, and his family's there, too. I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He pretty much went back by him. He took a crew, obviously, with the ship. But yeah, his wife, his daughter, son-in-law, and now granddaughter are staying in the colony as he travels back. And so he traveled back, and he told them, "I will be back in 3 months. I'll get there, get the supplies, and be back within 3 months."
Right, it takes a while.
Exactly.
reasonable.
So upon returning to England, he met with Sir Walter Raleigh, the benefactor of the first two expeditions. And I don't think he met with Queen Elizabeth, but he would have met with her council and advisors and whatnot. And unfortunately, upon arriving, you remember earlier in the episode, the French and the English and the Spanish weren't really getting along. Yeah, they were preparing for war.
Oh no!
And so
Fabulous.
upon arriving in port, he said, hey, can I have some supplies for the colony? This is what happened. We need more supplies. And they said, great, we have another ship that we can arm ready for combat.
Oh.
So he was denied the supplies, resources, and additional colonists to come back with him. And their ship was used for combat. I don't know if that ship survived the war or not.
Sad trumpet noise.
So the reason for this war was actually because King Philip II was organizing a naval invasion of England in retaliation for the execution of Queen Mary of Scots, who was a Spanish Catholic ally to Spain.
And that funny thing was she was married to a guy from Spain.
Mm-hmm. And to add on to it, because again, it has to be more petty, the execution was ordered by Queen Elizabeth I herself.
Oh.
So it just adds on to them just not liking each other. So unfortunately, I'll insert my old person joke here. A 3-hour tour that was supposed to be a 3-month trip turned into a 3 hours stuck in England, ran ashore. So anyone that gets that reference, you're old.
I feel old.
Yeah. So finally, John White, he was not able to return the supplies until 1590. So yes, 3 years.
Oh my
afterwards.
God.
So, how much do either of you know about the lost colony of Roanoke? Obviously, it was lost.
I know nothing. This is all new to me.
So I won't ask Kayla this. I'll ask Mariah. What do you think he found upon arriving to Roanoke?
Well, my guess is since it was years later, all of the people were dead.
Okay.
That's my guess.
So upon arriving, the colony was abandoned. There was no reports of bodies found anywhere, but there was also no sign of conflict. Like, it didn't look like there was like buildings torn down and destroyed. There was no bodies laying about or remains of bodies that were found.
So it was really just they disappeared.
Yep.
But they didn't have a ship, correct?
Correct. They didn't have a ship to, as far as I'm aware, they didn't have any ships to, I believe what they did is they landed, took all the supplies off the ship, and then cannibalized the ship to use for other structures.
Got it.
They had the one ship that he sailed back to England with. So the only things that were found of note were on a tree was the word crow, C-R-O, no W, and on a building or two, Croatoan was carved into the tree, to the building there, the name of the tribe.
Right.
Now, everyone else on the ship looked at this and said, where is everyone? What does crow mean? They were completely lost. John White, however, saw this and he was very happy because before he left, they had set up a system that he said, hey, if I get back and you're not here, I need to know where to find you. Mm-hmm. I need to know where to find all of you to figure out what happened and what's going on. And so, and this was in his journal. That's how we know today. This is how he knew this. And he told them, before you leave, carve into a tree or into boards of wood, whatever you can, the name of your destination so that I know where to find you. And he also noted he was extra happy, not only because Croatoa, as last he knew, they were friendly with the colonists. There was no cross carved underneath the word Croatoan, because he told them, if you are hostilely removed, if you were or under duress that you left, put a cross underneath the name of your destination. So they left the destination. It was a place that was friendly to them, and there was no hostile reason that they left. So he was pretty happy.
Right, he thought it was all positive
considered. Things. Yes. And he wanted to travel south about the 50 miles-ish south to get to them and confirm that's where they were. Unfortunately, there are many reports that they had issues with their ship and weather concerns. There were storms happening, and they were not able to sail south, and they weren't comfortable weighing anchor to travel on land down that way. So they turned around and went back to England.
Oh, no.
John White, again, was not happy that he left without having confirmation that his wife, daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter were safe or not.
Right.
So upon returning back to England, they told everyone, saying that the colony was abandoned, but we know where they went. We weren't able to confirm it, but we know they went that way. Unfortunately, that fell kind of on deaf ears because everyone else heard the colony failed.
Oh.
Why would we send more resources and people? We sent what we could after this 3-year war with Spain to help a colony that was still there. Now there's no colony. We're basically starting from scratch again. We're not going to do that. We don't have the means to do that. And so, unfortunately, John White was never able to return to find his family or his colonists, and there was no other expedition sent out to find them. It was deemed a failure. And it was also thought that the people that were there were assimilated into the Croatoan tribe, because that was a common thing, that they were welcoming of outsiders, especially those that were destitute, that had nowhere else to go. They were willing to take those people into their culture. So years later, eventually Jamestown was founded in Virginia in 1607. And that was the first long-lasting English settlement in the New World.
The infamous Jamestown.
Mm-hmm. And
Go history.
there was reports from those colonists that they would see native children from further south that had lighter skin. Some of them had more blonde hair and like maybe blue eyes, very European traits, and also native children wearing European clothing. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that was noted, and that kind of supports the idea that they were integrated into other tribes, potentially. So we come to modern day now, and it is estimated that the island of Roanoke has lost approximately 1/4 mile of land over the last 400 years to the ocean. So it's very hard for archaeologists and historians to do a lot of research on it because so much of that island is lost to the sea. So it's harder to excavate, and also it could have been washed away.
Mm-hmm. Erosion and such.
Exactly. And so there are some obvious remains of the settlement there that people existed, but yeah, it's a lot harder to find that. A big find was the Dare Stone. So if you remember, Dare is the last name of their daughter, and John White's daughter and granddaughter.
So when you said Dare Stone, my mind went to the Dare program
Oh,
at school.
Mm-hmm. This is its
Drug
origins.
and alcohol resistance education. Mm-hmm. That's where my mind went.
That was its origins, Mariah. Started with a stone.
It all started with a stone. So this stone was found in 1937 by a farmer in that region, and it was believed to be carved by Eleanor Dare, the daughter of John White. And it has carved into it this tale of them leaving the colony and where they went and major events that happened during that time. To improve the legitimacy of this stone, there was a bounty put out to find more artifacts, more stones like this. And they put out a bounty for $500 in 1937.
In 1937.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
So do either of you want to guess how much that would be in today's money?
Only $500
$500 in 1937. What is that?
to find artifacts.
Yes.
I'm gonna go $200,000.
200,000? What's your guess, Mariah?
I don't know. Is it higher or lower than Kayla's?
Lower.
Oh.
100,000.
You're both way off. It was about $10,000 today.
Dang.
Which is still,
Unfortunately, we have grown so accustomed to inflation, I feel like $10,000 is no longer a lot of money.
No,
That won't
no,
even buy you a car.
Unfortunately, yeah. What do you think happened after this bounty of $500, $10,000 today was put out to find other artifacts
Fake
from this
artifacts.
time. No, real artifacts.
Oh no, people are turning in fake ones.
Right, so you think fake artifacts?
Probably. That would make most sense. People are fabricating these artifacts.
So, miraculously, a farmer had found 47 more stones over the next 2 years on his property. Of this incredible story of the colony moving westward.
Did it say the exact same story on all of these 47 stones?
Nope, they were all found throughout his land. You know, they would carve into a stone and leave it there as a marker to show where they went on their progression. Upon further investigation, they were all deemed to be fake.
Ouch.
Because the language used, you know, we don't write in English the way they wrote 400 years ago. We don't even write it the same they did 100 years ago.
Right.
So,
it's that old-timey English.
Exactly. And so it didn't match. There's some inconsistencies with that. And to further it, the farmer that had found these artifacts had also been convicted of faking other Native American artifacts and selling them. So, you know, he didn't have a good record going for him.
Oh my God.
This farmer was just trying to make his money.
He really was. So, descendants are very hard to find and prove. The easiest way they have found is tracing the Y chromosome in descendants, which is only found in males. So they would had to have found a father who had a son, all the way from that time period to modern day. So it's a very hard thing to prove. And there actually are two gentlemen, one that lives in the UK and one that lives in the United States. They believe to be direct descendants of two different men from that original colony. One of them was from the side of the family that stayed in the UK and did not travel with the colony, and the other one has Native American ancestors.
Wow.
So that furthers the claim of them traveling to the Croatoan people. And so yeah, it's very difficult because, you know, what if that father didn't have a child, or if they did but they only had girls that wouldn't carry that on. So it's very hard to find that, which is why there's only possibly two people found today.
Or even if the lineage died, you know, like they had a son, but he chose to be childless.
Exactly.
Or couldn't
or
have
couldn't
children.
Exactly.
Ouch.
It had to be a father having a son for the next 400 years.
It was a low probability.
Exactly. Or if they died before they could have kids.
Right.
There's so many different possibilities.
There's a lot of pandemics between there and epidemics. And
Oof. The health was not there.
No.
So the last segment we're going to go into here is possible theories of what happened to the colony. Because in reality, we don't know what happened to everyone in its entirety. I'm going to leave this up to the two of you. I want you to decide this. How do you want me to tell you about theories? Do you want the most real, in my opinion at least, the most realistic, working our way to the most ridiculous?
Yeah.
Do you want the most ridiculous getting more reasonable? Do you just want to do random? What would you like to do?
I like the idea of going realistic and then ending on the ridiculous.
And just getting it more and more ridiculous?
Yeah, like going with the serious, and then we can just get a little bit goofier as we go.
Okay, that sounds good. So, the first one we've been talking about all episode, they were assimilated into the Croatoan people and possibly other tribes that would take them in. Obviously, a good chunk of them probably did die in the time period because we don't know how long they stuck around with the colony before it failed. So that is the first major theory that we have.
Do you know if they've ever done any like searches for human remains on there, or is that part of how the land has been going underneath ocean water?
There's been some shallow water, because it's not that deep under the water in some spots, so they're able to kind of wade around in it. They've done looking for it, but there's been some artifacts, like they've found coins like 100 miles on a different coast that they think might have been from that, or like tools and stuff like that.
But they've never actually found like human remains on Roanoke?
As far as I've found, they have not. So the next one is a little more grim. It's the idea that other tribes that did not like them came in and killed everyone and scattered them off into the wilderness, and they are not around. Starvation because they were running low on supplies. They might not have made it through some of the harsh winters. So, yeah, the next most likely theory is almost all of them died in some horrible manner. The next theory that I found once or twice, there's not a lot supporting it. It's believed there was rumors going around the colony that there was gold further inland from where they were. And so the theory is they up and left to go in search of gold. I find that hard to believe because they were already struggling with
gold at that point?
With a lack of supplies. Yeah, with a lack of supplies and everything. And they also haven't traveled that far inland yet. So I find it very unlikely that they would leave. It's a failing colony, but they at least have palisade walls. They have small structures that they can live in. They'd be leaving that to go live in the wilderness and build a whole new settlement. That would be so much work to do. Right.
And my thing is, what would gold be useful for to them at that point? Because gold's soft.
Well, they wouldn't use it for a building material. They'd probably send it back to England,
right,
and they'd get wealthy off of that. They might be able to get more of a jump start on their colony.
That's valid.
But it wouldn't make a lot of sense that they would just up and leave.
Right.
At least to me, it doesn't. An important detail I actually just remembered: when they found the colony, to go along with there was no signs of conflict, there were buildings that were torn down in places. Like boards were systematically removed from a building to be used for other structures or other building materials. So if you hear reports and they say, oh, buildings were taken down, it wasn't like someone took an axe and broke a board. It was removed from the building with the intention of being used for something else, actually. So they were trying to be resourceful with their material. All right, and now we will be moving into the final theory, which... Ready for this? Alien. There's at least one guy on the internet that claims aliens abducted them, so it's a theory that exists. I told you. I asked, did you want to start with the...
aliens?
Aliens.
I don't know how to feel right now.
There's always one guy on the internet that can explain everything through aliens.
They can, like the pyramids, aliens.
Aliens, yeah. That's the theory, is aliens came and abducted them for some reason.
They probed them.
Yep, they sure did. It's, the guy walked into the room, said aliens, did not elaborate, and walked out. Because it has to be a possibility. It has to.
If you believe in aliens, I guess it's a possibility.
Right, exactly.
At this point, anything's possible.
Exactly. So, it's a credible idea.
Is it?
No, it's not. It was just,
Is it a credible idea?
No.
We have no scientific evidence of aliens.
Of course not. The aliens took them away.
Exactly.
They left no trace.
Yep.
I was expecting something like, they built a boat and floated away.
I'm so glad we ended
castaways.
with this theory.
Yep, it's...
God.
Every missing person's case has to have aliens as a possibility.
Oh, we never discussed that with Pam. Maybe she got...
I was just thinking that. I was like, was David an alien and took her to his home planet?
He's a skinwalker, a reptile, or something from outer space.
Oh,
aliens.
I don't even know how to feel about all this.
He literally gave no explanation as to why he thought it would be aliens.
No, he just said in the 3 years that John White was gone, an alien craft came by and they were all abducted.
But if that was the case, then why would they write Crow?
I said this is the most ridiculous theory that I have found that was legitimately made. I didn't say it was a legitimate reason, though.
The aliens morphed into the Croatoan people.
Oh, okay. So this is the route we're going.
So you think they really thought they were going with the Croatoans. And so they wrote Crow on there.
Yeah,
and
say
then-
they just got this flying ship thing.
Going back to the gold theory, the explanation for them writing Croatoan on the tree still, because you can't change the fact that that's on the tree.
Yeah.
Right.
The reason they wrote that on there was to throw John White off, so he would travel south to try and find them when they went off to find the riches. They didn't want to share with him and the crown, apparently, is the main reason. That's their explanation. Well, there's a theory that they were worried that they found it, and then the queen would say, "Cool, that's all mine now."
Oh.
I mean, fair.
So that's the explanation for the gold. So there's at least something there, but then there's just aliens.
Aliens.
E.T. came down,
E.T.
and apparently he's not friendly. He's more like, the Predator, and took them away.
This just boggles my mind, though. I'm not gonna lie.
E.T.
Yeah, E.T. apparently wasn't that nice.
He did not return home.
He took them home.
I mean, valid. You know what? My question is, if they came for the colonists, why did they go for the Native Americans there?
I don't know. We have yet to understand the motive of the aliens.
Will we understand the motive of aliens?
I'm willing to bet not. I'm willing to bet we will never understand the aliens theory.
Mariah's not one that believes in aliens.
I don't believe in aliens.
Ooh.
Y'all can have your opinion. I personally do not believe in
We
aliens.
should do an episode over aliens.
I'd be down for that.
Yes.
And we get to switch roles and I become the skeptic.
Yes.
Alex is usually our skeptic here.
See, I'm more willing to accept that aliens exist than ghosts exist.
Dang.
I mean, we all have our opinions.
That's my personal take
Yeah.
on it.
Okay, you both have your skepticism. I have nothing to be skeptical about. This is tragic.
Do either of you have any more questions about Roanoke?
I did read a
Anything
theory
you want to elaborate on?
a while back because I watched American Horror Story Roanoke, which really didn't talk that much about Roanoke, surprisingly. But one of the theories was that when they wrote Croatoan in there, it was to dispel spirits. Because they thought that that was a word that, dispelled negativity.
Really? I did not watch that episode, in preparation for this, so I...
Well, they really didn't elaborate on it in American Horror Story. I went and read on it some more.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I mean, don't watch American Horror Story if you're looking for accurate history on Roanoke, but it's still it's one of my favorite seasons. And that's where Roanoke is a really interesting history, because there are so many theories. And my thing is, too, what if instead of just taking the ship, what if he just would have traveled south?
What do you mean?
To go see the Croatoan. He just all right, bye, thanks.
He could have, but, the ship's captain and the crew, they weren't going to leave him any supplies. So he would have been alone with nothing. They got there and saw an abandoned colony and said, they're all gone. This colony had failed. They were on the opinion of there's nothing to go and find.
They were like, peace out, bye.
Yeah.
I mean...
Which John White was not happy about. He's like, no, I want to go find my wife. I want to go find my family and make sure they're okay.
He wants one last time to get lucky. I mean, I just think about it, how would I feel if that were me? That would suck.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, no, it's so weird too, because I mean, what if they did assimilate with the Croatoan and that would have benefited England? I don't know.
Yeah, it's unclear, but that seems to be the most likely thing that happened was the ones that did survive traveled down there and just became a part of that culture.
I mean,
You mean the aliens aren't the most likely?
Sorry.
Fair point.
The aliens clearly is the leading theory in what happened to them. There's no other... The evidence is all there, people. Come on.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Nope.
Just
Send us, drop your comments on if you think the aliens is a legitimate answer to the Roanoke.
Nope, next it'll be the Jersey Devil took him out. Who knows at this point? Anything's possible. It was 400 years ago. Maybe Jesus Christ came down and was like, all right, my people, let's go.
Well, I think we've rambled long enough. This has kind of turned into just nonsense ever since I said the word. I said one word, and everything just went wild.
This is called Theories 101.
It is. So with that, I think it's time we hand it over to Mariah to plug the socials.
Yes, we are all over our socials. You can find us on TikTok at Midwest Spook-kast, where we like to drop some teasers, some funny pictures that we get from when we're recording. Kayla took one of me earlier during this recording, and I'll make sure to put that on our TikTok. We are also on Facebook as Midwest Spook-kast, so feel free to follow us on Facebook. We do find ourselves a little bit more active on Facebook since that's where we started, but please join us there. We are also on X, formerly known as Twitter, as @Spook-kast, because as I say every time, X thinks Midwest Spook-kast is too long. So we are just Spook-kast there. And we post a lot of updates. Not a lot, but we post some updates there. And you can always send us your favorite spooky stories or any of your encounters at our email, which is midwestspookcast@gmail.com. If you would like, we would love to end our episodes with a little story from you. So feel free to send us those stories. We will say them here on the podcast and we'll react to them. I think that'll be so fun once we start getting people responding to that. And I think the best way to wrap up this episode and send you out with this very important message: stay away from the aliens and stay spooky, ghoul friends.